Ugh, this place looks like it's seen better days. Wonder what Baylor Drock thinks I'm gonna find down here. So, to what do I owe the, pleasure?
Well, we have a common acquaintance. I figured we could sit down and have a little chat. How is the Golden Boy, by the way?
I don't know how much I should share with someone who walks around with the title of Doom King.
Very prudent of you. I admire your... I guess caution is the nice way to put it. I'll cut to the chase. Have you ever heard of Kozaki?
Yeah, that scientist who always seems to be involved in some kind of dangerous experiment.
The very same. And I've happened upon some intel that may prove useful for the both of us.
I don't like where this is going.
Due to the River of Souls going out of control, the dimensional boundaries of the underworld are shifting, intruding on other dimensions. It appears that one of Kozaki's labs is one such victim.
And what's that got to do with anything?
Well, the poor little researcher fell victim to his own work some time ago, but the numerous labs he left behind contained valuable resources and tools for other would-be evil scientists. That ring any bells?
Yeah. Sounds like the kind of place Vector would hit up. Are you suggesting they're holed up in that abandoned lab?
I'm not suggesting anything. But if you were to explore this peculiarity and happen to find something, well, that would be most fortuitous for everyone involved.
Right. Well, I guess I can step away for a bit since the Exorcisters are helping out. What could possibly go wrong? Stupid past Nova, always getting me Nova in trouble. Hi. Hi. Why are you just standing there?
Well, I was hoping you'd be in that flashback for a bit longer.
So what you got there?
Yuki, I've been discovered. The mission's been compromised. Get me out of here.
Well, that escalated quickly. Let's see what you were up to. Yeah, mutagenic research makes sense for Mr. I'm gonna turn hedgehogs into dragons. Are they trying to turn Ogdo Abyss into one? Looks like the research was being done using mutants as test subjects. Maybe going over them will explain what's going on here? I crack myself up. Hello everyone, GoldenNova here. Everyone who's kept an eye on the channel for a while will know that I love TCG exclusive archetypes. With few exceptions, they're fun, interesting, and look incredible. And in all fairness, War Rocks do look fantastic. Certainly hope this doesn't awaken anything in me. So for today's episode, I'm excited to bring you Myutants, the TCG exclusive theme that accompanied the 2020 core set Phantom Rage. Which makes sense because everything about that set was a certified bop. These morphing monstrosities hit the scene with an incredible amount of potential, but quickly fell off the radar as the rule of cool didn't always apply when you're looking to post competitive results, and unfortunately didn't get the continued support needed to expand their reach. And yes, I am aware that they got double the cards in their initial set as compared to themes like War Rocks and V-Troopers, but I'm from the Duelist Alliance days where we got a theme that would update and evolve over the course of a whole year, and we liked it, darn it! But with new support set to release in the core set Battle of Chaos, it's about time we revisited their research reports. So without further ado, let's put this theme under a microscope to understand its structure, extrapolate its evolution from the data, then introduce some biological beasties to complement their traits. It's time to mix it up with Myutants. But before we continue, a quick reminder to please like and subscribe if you've enjoyed my content so far. We're on the road to 100,000 subscribers, and what better way to travel down the road than on your Duel Runner? We'll be covering iconic 5Ds characters along the way, and our next stop is 20K, where we'll start the Yusei Explained series, covering Stardust, Junk, and whatever other cards we can play to help us rev it up. We've also got our Discord, where I can't convince you to join, but Mary sure can. And a Twitter where you can stay up to date on channel news and my bad takes. And if you really like what I do here, please consider joining my YouTube membership. It's basically like a Twitch sub, emotes included, or backing me on Patreon, where you can vote on a video that I make every month. It also gets you early access to my videos via the patron-only section of my Discord, provided I get the video done ahead of schedule. And whether you're a member or a patron, I get a schedule sent to you on the first week of the month, so you know what to expect for the next 4 weeks. Thank you all so much for watching, and now, back to the video. So, what's the deal with mutants? Well, they start out as level 4 or lower water psychic monsters that are all about banishing your own cards to summon out your level 8 mutants of various types and attributes. This all culminates in your big fusion boss monsters, who not only boast impressive stats and effects that can anchor your board against a variety of interactions, their very existence is a sin against all of creation. My favorite kind of sin. Let's start with our water psychics, and the first one is our newest member, Mutant Mutator. They're a level 1 monster with 0 attack and defense, and if you control any mutant monster, you can special summon Mutator from your hand. You contribute them, then banish a mutant card from your hand or deck to special summon a monster from your hand or deck based on the type of card banished. Mutant Beast if it's a monster, Mutant Mist if it's a spell, or Mutant Arsenal if it's a trap. Then you lose life points equal to the original attack of the monster you summon. We'll go over these specific monsters later in the video, but trust me when I say they're pretty powerful, and since they're all over 2000 attack, you will be taking a big chunk of damage. But hey, it's a psychic monster, what did you expect? This card is huge. Most of the mini mutants go neutral in card economy no matter what, but this one isn't limited to the cards you have available. Mutator, in essence, can summon any of your mega mutants as well as providing a standalone follow-up to any mutant play. And it shows what appears to be first contact with the mutants, as Mutator is in what appears to be an impact crater being observed by scientists who look suspiciously close to, though not exactly like, the scientists in W Nebula Meteorite. And I'm telling you, if mutants end up retroactively being part of dual terminal canon, then I'm gonna be the one that turns into a big pile of goo that eats everything around me to feel better. I'm joking, I can't turn into that. I already am that. Our next two mini-mutants are pretty similar. Mutant M-05 is a level 2 monster with 0 attack and 500 defense, and if you normal or special summon them, you can add a mutant monster from your deck to your hand. You contribute them like Mutator to summon one of your level 8 mutants, though you don't have the option of banishing a mutant card from your deck, it has to be any card from your hand or field. And the same card type to monster conversion is in play here as well. Monster gets you Beast, Spell gets you Mist, Trap gets you Arsenal. Mutant ST-46 is a level 3 monster with 500 attack and 0 defense, and if normal or special summoned, you can add a mutant spell or trap from your deck to your hand, as well as having the exact same tribute to summon effect as M-05. Both of these are incredibly helpful, as they not only get you cards that can help advance your strategy, they pay for their own tribute to summon effect to help keep your card economy smoothed out. And I'm gonna take a little time to celebrate myself, because these consistency boosters just got a little extra help from the ban list, because emergency teleport is at 2, baby. Mutant GB-88 just narrowly misses the emergency teleport train by being a level 4 monster with 500 attack and defense. During your opponent's main phase, if you have the field spell Mutant Evolution Lab on the field, you can special summon GB-88 from your hand. And if special summoned in any way on your opponent's turn, you can tribute GB-88, then banish any card from your hand or face-up field to special summon any of your level 8 mutants that are banished or in your grave. And there is no card type to monster conversion on this one. This card easily has the highest ceiling out of all of our mini mutants, and it's a darn shame it's so situational. Like, sure, you don't need to use its own summon effect to trigger it, but how else are you gonna do it? Back to the front? It's a bit easier to set up now, and I'll get into how that is when we cover Mutant Evolution Lab, but for now, we're just gonna have to leave it at that for this good boy. Which is obviously what GB stands for. Good Boy 88. This lab has at least 88 good boys. Now it's time for our level 8s. They cannot be special summoned except by the effects of mutant cards. Your opponent can't target them with effects that match the card type that the mini mutants would traditionally banish for their summon. They also gain an effect that triggers when your opponent activates the next card type in that cycle, and if destroyed by your opponent, they can grab you a banished mutant card of the previous card type in the cycle. For instance, Mutant Beast is an Earth Beast monster with 2400 attack and defense, and can't be targeted by your opponent's monster effects. And when your opponent activates a spell card or effect, as a quick effect, you can banish a card from your hand or field to negate the activation, and if you do, banish that card. And if this card is destroyed by your opponent while in your possession, you can target a banished mutant trap card and add it to your hand. This is your safest bet out of all your level 8s when looking for something to summon. Monster targeting immunity is one of the strongest kinds of protection out there, and spell negation is why Naturia Beast is so good. Hey, wait a second! Mutant Mist is a wind spellcaster with 2700 attack and 2900 defense, and can't be targeted by your opponent's spell effects. When your opponent activates a trap card or effect, as a quick effect, you can banish a card from your hand or field to draw 2 cards. And if destroyed by your opponent while in your possession, you can add a banished mutant monster to your hand. This one doesn't really have the best intersection of effects. I can't think of too many spells that are used nowadays that Mist is safe from, and while the drawing effect is nice and can chain to the activation of infinite impermanence so it can't be shut down by that, it's otherwise going to be very situational. Like GB, I'd run at least one for diversity and the ability to get back banished mutants, but unless your opponent is trying to grind you out with trap cards, I think this card missed its chance for relevancy. Mutant Arsenal is a fire machine monster that's an absolutely honking chonker, sporting 3000 attack and 1000 defense. Your opponent can't target it with trap effects, and if your opponent activates a monster effect as a quick effect, you can banish a card from your hand or field, then target a monster on the field and banish it. And when destroyed by your opponent while in your possession, you can add a banished mutant spell to your hand. Now this card is trouble. Activate any monster effect and Arsenal's gonna have something to say about it. Once again, not very many traps that target that Arsenal would be safe from. It can't deter counter traps, for instance, but a 3000 body that can death ray a monster at a moment's notice is pretty savage. There aren't many weapons out there that can surpass Mutant Arsenal gear. Time for the fusions. First is Mutant Synthesis, a level 9 water psychic monster with 2500 attack and 2000 defense, requiring any 2 mutant monsters with different attributes as material. If fusion summoned, you can target any card on the field and destroy it. Also, when your opponent activates a card or effect as a quick effect, you can have Synthesis become unaffected by your opponent's cards of the same type, monster, spell, or trap, for the rest of the turn. And if this fusion summoned card you control is destroyed by an opponent's card, you can add any of your banished mutant cards to your hand. Synthesis is the bread and butter card of your deck, and it's gonna get you through a lot of tough board states. Just deciding you're gonna be immune to certain kinds of interaction means your opponent is gonna have to work that much harder to get your fusion off the field. And yes, one of our effects that fusion summon is a quick effect, so you can drop a Synthesis out of nowhere and use its destruction effect to stymie your opponent's plans. And if they do deal with Synthesis, you get one of your banished cards back. So it's a big, annoying roadblock that gets in the way of what you really want to do, and even when they've been dealt with, there's really no sense of accomplishment. Sounds like every game I've played against Mystic Mine. Zing! Mutant Ultimus is here for when you want to let your opponent know you're done playing God and ready to be God. They're a level 10 Dark Psychic monster with 3500 attack and 3000 defense, requiring 3 level 8 or higher mutant monsters as material. When a card or effect is activated as a quick effect, you can banish a mutant card from your hand, grave, or face up on the field of the same card type, monster, spell, or trap, and negate the activation and banish it. And if this fusion summoned card is destroyed by an opponent's card, you can add up to 3 of your banished mutant cards to your hand, up to 1 each of a monster, spell, or trap. This behemoth is, effectively, a bigger mechaba that you don't even need to spend cards on because you can just banish the correct card right out of your grave. And the best part is, it's not one of those restrictive adding effects that requires you to get everything or get nothing. You can just grab whatever you've got. Even just getting 1 card back isn't that bad, considering how efficiently we can summon our bigger bodies. The only question now is, where are we gonna put them? I think we're gonna need a bigger planet. But what's the point of having big, powerful fusion monsters if you can't get to them? Well, how's about I kick off the spell and trap section with Mutant Fusion. It's a normal spell that lets you fusion summon a mutant monster by banishing fusion material from your hand or field. And if your opponent has activated any card or effect this turn, you can use up to 1 monster each from your deck and grave as fusion material as well. I love this card, and that may sound weird to some of you since I decry Triple Tactics talent, but here's the difference. You can still activate Mutant Fusion even if your opponent hasn't done anything, and its bonus effect comes in if your opponent activates anything, not just monster effects. And if your opponent isn't interacting with you on your own turn, then congratulations, you're in the clear. Also, just 10 out of 10 framing right here. I really feel like I'm in a John Carpenter flick right now. Mutant Blast is an equip spell of all things that can only be equipped to a level 8 or higher mutant monster. At the start of the damage step, if the equipped monster attacks an opponent's special summoned monster, you can banish it. And while equipped to a monster, you can banish Blast, then send the monster it was equipped to the grave, and if you do, special summon a level 8 mutant monster with a different original attribute from your hand or deck. This one is more interesting than useful if I'm being honest. It'll certainly help all your monsters get over any threat they face, but I don't feel like the summoning of your Mega Mutants is so restrictive that you need your own Book of the Law for them. And that might not even be an appropriate analogy, because at least Book can swap them out at quick effect speed. Now, if you could do all this and equip it to any mutant, I'd be singing a different tune. But the way it is now, what it's meant to help with isn't very crystal clear. Mutant Evolution Lab is the deck's field spell, and when activated, you can special summon a level 4 or lower mutant monster from your hand or banished zone. All your mutants gain 100 attack for each of your banished mutant cards with a different name, and once per turn during the main phase, you can place a mutant monster from your hand on the bottom of your deck to draw a card. Very useful for cycling out any Mega Mutants that end up in your hand. The attack boost is negligible, so it comes down to the cycling effect and the revival effect, which is a bit hit or miss. None of the mini-mutants banish themselves for their own effect, so you need to banish them with another effect which isn't really that consistent. Until Mutator came out. Now you can just banish a copy of M-05 right out of your deck. Then, when you activate Lab, you can summon that M-05, which searches you GB-88. Congratulations! You can now set up one of your most powerful mini-mutants. Once you've banished or yarded a Mega Mutant to go with it. Look, I said it was more consistent, not super consistent. You know, sometimes science is more art than science. A lot of people forget about that. Mutant Cry can be activated during any main phase and allows you to fusion summon a mutant fusion monster from your extra deck by shuffling the materials into your deck from your field, grave, and or banished cards. This is what you can use to summon Synthesis on your opponent's turn to smash up their field, but it also makes for an outstanding way to make Ultimus on the cheap. Mutant Fusion works better in the early game to get all your material out of the deck, but Cry excels in the late game once all those materials have been spent. Combine the unexpected timing of your summons and the general disruptiveness of your bosses, and it'll be more than enough to make your opponent very, very sad. Mutant Clash is a continuous trap that, when activated, lets you target an effect monster your opponent controls. On resolution, you banish a mutant monster from your grave, and if you do, negate the targeted monster's effects until the end of the turn, even if Clash leaves the field. And when a level 8 or higher mutant monster destroys an opponent's monster by battle, you can draw a card. Now, when I first saw this card, I wasn't too thrilled. Getting to draw a card after destroying a monster in battle isn't exactly the kind of payoff I'd want from a trap card. But the more I thought about it, the more useful Clash seemed. It's a searchable breakthrough skill that can banish your mini-mutants to use with Evolution Lab, and since it stays on the field after activation, it can be used to fuel your various mutant effects. The draw effect is, in my approximation, a pitfall that draws your attention away from all the good aspects this card has. Just make sure you're searching it. If you get it too early, you won't have the fuel engraved to activate its effect, which will clash with your play sequences. Mutant Expansion is another continuous trap, and when you activate it, you can take a level 4 or lower mutant monster from your deck and either add it to your hand or special summon it. And if any number of level 8 or higher mutant monsters you control would be destroyed by a card effect, you can banish Expansion from your spell and trap zone instead. Now, remember what I said earlier about how Mutant Evolution Lab can help set up GB-88? Well, that's all well and good, but Mutant Expansion is way better. Just flip it on your opponent's turn and you're good to go. It even works like Clash, where you can use it to fuel GB-88's effect. And if you don't have a Mega Mutant ready to summon, hey, not a problem. Just add any of your mini mutants to your hand to set up for next turn, or just wait to activate it on your turn to get the summon for free. And of course, it provides protection for your Mega Mutants, but that's something else it has in common with Clash. It's a neat bonus, not really the main focus, as its other effect is way more important for expanding on your strategy. Okay, so that's all the mutant cards, but what do we do with them? Well, we've got a ton of big, beefy monsters that shrug off a lot of interaction. It may not have OTKs at the ready, but it's a bad idea for your opponent to leave your monsters unchecked, lest they take over the board. So I believe mid-range is in the cards for us, largely focusing on throwing out big bodies to stampede over our opponent, but having some fun with stun when it becomes necessary. But what can we play to help them out? With all their banishing and lack of summon restrictions, mutants synergize very well with other themes that like to banish their cards. Shiranui, for instance, love when their stuff gets banished. You can banish something like Spirit Master for a pop or Squire for card cycling, but everything else in the theme is too dependent on zombies to work, including Spirit Master and Squire's other effects. They work a bit better with Metaphys, as all the banishing will fast-track the worms into their banishing cycle, though you might want to skip out on playing Metaphys Daedalus and or Nephthys, as they don't really play nice with off-theme cards. But the big combo is with Thunder Dragons. Aloof Lupine was an outstanding addition to the theme, as it immediately banished dragons out of your hand, and the mini-mutants largely fill the same role. Sure, Colossus isn't around anymore, thank goodness, but Titan's certainly no slouch, and I can't think of a better monster to add to our playstyle than a 3200 attack beatstick that can keep itself safe from effect destruction that also has quick effect removal. It's a match made in heaven. Specifically, Mad Scientist heaven. Nemesis Keystone is an integral inclusion because it basically amounts to a free mutant activation every turn. Not every one of your turns, every turn. Because if it's banished, it just comes back to your hand during the end phase. You'll only be able to summon Beast off of your mini-mutant effects when using Keystone, but that's like saying you're at a disadvantage because you can only summon Dark attribute monsters after using an Orchist effect. It's not a restriction if it's forcing you to play the best one. You might also want to experiment with a larger Nemesis package. Protoss and Ashatos feel like they would fit right in, but you kinda want to keep your monsters banished for cards like Cry, not shuffled back into the deck. As for a silly tech pick, well, I've got two. The first one is a bit more sensible, Salvage. All your mini-mutants are targets for it, and if you add Mutator along with any other ones, then you can summon the level 1 for free. This has the added benefit of helping field mini-mutants off of Evolution Lab if you're not able to banish them. The second one is, well, it's Soul Absorption. Don't click off. I know it doesn't do anything to affect the game state, but please hear me out. Mutant Mutator is such an incredible inclusion for the theme, and yes, life points for cards is always a good deal, but at the cost we're paying, it's not very repeatable. You'll be lucky to get 2 activations with it tops, and hopefully games shouldn't last that long, but putting yourself at such low life points is a quick way for your opponent to steal a win off a well-placed attack. As a way to gain life points, Soul Absorption is pretty much our best option, as we're banishing cards constantly, triggers off of you and your opponent getting cards banished, something we plan to force our opponent to do a lot, and if worse comes to worse, we banish it for one of our Mutants effects for some value. And that's all I've got to say on Mutants. And apparently all Kozaki had to say on it too. Looks like he had gotten all the data he could on Mutant Fusion, and was looking for some other way to combine them to draw out their other qualities, and it looks like Vector got the rest of the research material. Great. So if this has anything to do with why Eldritch stole Ogdo Abyss, are they trying to combine it with something? But with what? And how? And I think that's my cue to get the heck out of here. While I'm running for my life, make sure to do all the liking and subscribing and commenting, like how to get giant bio monsters to stay away from me. Remember, YouTube members can see the rest of my schedule for this month's videos, and if you want to vote on a video for next month, make sure to join my Patreon. In fact, if we can time out for a second, I want to take some time to shout out my lovely patrons, including this month's illustrious Quasar Commander, CozyBoat275, Nebula Navigators, Benjamin Meisner, Billy Spence, Genesis Yu-Gi-Oh!, Gloomba331, Panther J, The Wizard Moose, and the Fresh Prince of Conair, Cosmic Crusaders, Chaz Ghost, Colin Todd, George Schaefer, Hakatana, the Legendary Raven, and Panda PLS, as well as the wonderful Starlight Explorers you see on screen now. And if you want to see any more Halloween-themed videos, check out this playlist. It's got all the ones I've done so far. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope I'll be alive to see you next time. Bye-bye!